viruses don't just cause colds, they can also help humans. Indeed, viruses infect all types of organisms by invading living cells and reproducing inside. This can cause diseases and other problems for life. But scientists working in gene therapy often use viruses to inject genes into living organisms in order to change them for the better. Recently,
scientists believe the same wasp virus that infected it weeks before has now invaded the caterpillar's brain and caused this bizarre corruption of its normal behavior. Amazingly, the caterpillar's natural aggression is now also exploited by the wasp virus. The caterpillar becomes a bodyguard, actively protecting the cocoons from other parasites. It will watch over them unceasingly until it eventually starves to death.
Now they are admitting that they plan to deploy something I learned about a decade ago. Hundreds of different vaccines. They're really biological re-engineering live viruses that they inject into your body, and the live viruses go in and attack your brain. And they claim, oh, it's to stop drug addiction. Those same receptor sites that pick up opiates and nicotine and alcohol pick up your normal endorphins. It's part of being a normal human being. Those drugs mimic that. And the viruses attack those receptor sites and kill them and create dead tissue. It is a vaccine-induced live virus lobotomy. Now they're coming out and saying the American people and the people of the world are sick. And major medical journals are saying we need to give everybody these shots to make them feel better, to stop having anxiety, to stop being angry. In other words, to take away your instinct for self-preservation, your will to survive, to make you accept all the bad things that are happening, to turn you into a biological android, a type of zombie. You cannot make this up. Please send this video to everyone you know. For God's sakes, understand how serious this is. This is a global, scientific, corporate takeover of life itself. The globalists aren't just re-engineering corn and wheat and every other major crop and engineering sterilants into them. Suddenly, all over the news, they're promoting
fear and stress, and specifically how serious disorders in fear and stress may be treatable in the future using gene therapy and the brain. Welcome.
Thank you.
So gene therapy, the way I understand it, is actually fundamentally changing the DNA of some of the cells in your body so that they don't have a problem anymore.
That's correct. So the basic premise behind gene therapy is that you are designing a virus that is basically an empty viral shell, and instead of having the DNA that would normally be present in that virus, you have replaced it with a piece of DNA that you have engineered that includes a gene, or perhaps more than one gene, that you think will be beneficial to a population of cells.
So you take most of the virus DNA out. I guess you leave the bits to make the virus work like a virus, and you put what you want in, and then it makes small changes to the DNA of the cells that it attacks as a virus, but it doesn't really do anything to them besides that.
Right, exactly.
So with this kind of change, it sounds like it's not a pill that you'd take every day. It's a permanent change. You'd get one injection of virus, and then your disorder would go away.
Right. That's really sort of the premise behind gene therapy. And so we think about using gene therapy for disorders or diseases where the person has a lifelong condition. So things like diabetes, and in terms of brain-based disorders, we're thinking about treating sort of serious mental illness. So things that are really debilitating, things like post-traumatic stress disorder, perhaps schizophrenia, things like that.
So what you're looking at is how eventually we may be able to take pieces of DNA and treat someone who's paranoid or who has post-traumatic stress disorder. How would that work in the brain? Is it different from the rest of the body?
In principle, it's not that different. So you have viral particles that you've made and purified, and you want to put them near the cell that you want to infect. And so in the periphery, we often think about using gene therapies where we just inject them into the bloodstream or the target organ. And so when we think about having brain-based gene therapy, it would actually involve brain surgery. So, but a relatively minor brain surgery. So this would involve making a small hole in the skull, inserting a very small needle, infusing the viral particles, and then closing up the skull.
And even though it's brain surgery, it sounds like, as brain surgery goes, it's not super serious. You wouldn't want to do this for something that would go away eventually, though, right? It's not worth
Right,
it
exactly. So we would never advocate gene therapy for something like a transient depression because perhaps your pet was sick or something like that.
But these changes, once made, could really change someone's life, and it wouldn't be a significant amount of work to have this done once we get it refined, right?
Right, exactly. You have to know what gene you want to target, and you have to engineer the virus in an appropriate way so that it infects the cells, and you have to know where in the brain you want to put it. But once you've got those problems addressed, then we can use it in a therapeutic way.
It's really great to hear how that works.
Surrender to the sound of the darkness.